Hey.
Welcome, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is a very exciting webinar we're doing all about creativity. My name's Adele and this is my lovely friend and colleague Amanda.
Hello.
And we're here, joining us here tonight is the lovely and very special guest Lisa Murray, who we'll introduce in just a second. But basically, did you want to?
Yeah, I'll add. So our topic for tonight is nurturing your ideas into life. So it's, yeah, like we said, it's all about creativity. And basically the reason we have our special guest Lisa on tonight is because, well, from our point of view, she's a total pro in creativity. And she looks at creativity in a totally different way. She's also the founder of Creativity Lab, which is an amazing workshop that she has. She facilitates all over the world. So it's very, very exciting to have you, Lisa. Welcome. Welcome.
Hi, Amanda. Hi, Adele. I'm excited to be here.
Yay!
So there's been a few. Did you have something to say?
I was just going to say, if people are having questions during the call,
yeah.
You'll see a Q&A box just at the side. So if you just want to type that in, and we can bring those up with Lisa throughout the call. But we actually have had some come in, so we will definitely get to those and address them. So
yeah. So I'd love to just kick off this conversation. I mean, creativity. I mean, it's such a huge thing. Where do we even really start? So I just wanted to actually ask you, Lisa, like, what is your point of view about, like, what is creativity? Are some people more creative than others? Like, what is it that defines, I guess, you know, creativity in the world?
Yeah, it's a really great question, Amanda, because a lot of people think that creativity is all about, like, art and craft or painting pretty pictures or being able to write. And, yeah, it includes those things, but the energy of creativity is actually the energy that we create our whole life with. And so people always, like, I get a lot of people say, oh, but I'm not creative, you know, and they kind of look a bit sad. And I'm like, well, you know, are you alive? Because if you're alive, you're creating your life, and it really is up to you how creatively you do that. And to me, creativity is about being the difference that you are, you know, being that sort of unique energy that is you, and applying that to how you are in the world and what you actually create physically in the world. Because for a lot of people, you know, creativity is this thing that they never really even know what it is. But for me, it's quite a tangible thing in that, yes, you can physically create things, you can also be creative in the approach you have, whether it be how you display your food on the plate, you know, like creativity can be a really simple thing. And of course it can go to that genius level of, you know, the great artists and writers and things like that. And a lot of people miss sort of the idea that there's the possibility of being creative in every moment of your life. And really it's just the way you look at things and whether you would like to play with what's possible, or whether you like to follow the path that everyone else has already created.
Yeah, and I love that, like the word you said there that really popped out for me was like play. Because when I first met you, Lisa, a few years ago, you know, you did, you know, and you still do a lot of like business coaching and working with businesses. And to me, my point of view was business is the furthest thing from creativity I could even think of from my point of view. And so to see that you would start talking about business and creativity as this thing, and that it was really playful, I was like, business playful? What? So yeah,
can we talk about that? Because, like, I've had that conversation with about 5 different people this week, and so it would be really cool to talk about it. Yeah, and it's a really interesting thing because I do see business very differently to a lot of people. Because my idea is, well, if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. And so, and people go, well, how can you create a business like that? And my point of view is, well, actually fairly easily. Because if you do what you're really great at, and if you, and I actually had this realization this morning that I find like a lot of things really easy. And if I just look at the list of what I find easy, then that's a long list of things I can choose in terms of how I might create my life or my business. But if I go to, well, what do I find easy that I really love? that list is a bit shorter. And so I have literally created my business and my life to actually match that list of the things that are really easy for me and the things that I love. And anything that doesn't fit those two criteria, they're the things that I give to other people to do. And it's really cool because, like, you know, I'm going to Europe for a lot of time this year, and my Europe coordinator said to me one day, do you want me to work out all your flights and things? And I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome, thank you. So she's working out all the times, the dates, the flights, all the stuff that does my head in. And so this is the thing about being creative in business, is if you don't have to do everything. Because a lot of people, particularly when they start their own business and it's still, you know, just them, they're in this mindset of, oh my gosh, I have to do everything. No, you don't. You just have to do the things that are going to make the difference. And you know, she's much better at logistics than I am, so I am really grateful. And that's that energy of inviting into your business everything that would allow it to flow with ease. Because a lot of people make business hard. Like, if there's one common theme in the conversations I've had this week, it's like, but business is hard. But you can't do that in business. But, you know, no one wants to know that. And, like, it's like, how many roadblocks can you put in your business to make it not work? And I have a completely different perspective, which is, well, actually, how easily can we remove those roadblocks, and how easily can we actually go to the possibilities rather than sitting with what this reality thinks business is? Because, you know, I've done lots of stuff in big business. You know, I've managed research institutes. I've been a marketing manager for a very long time. I've done a lot of change management. I've done all the really full-on business stuff. And one of the really interesting things with that is that people look at what the rules of business are, that everyone says these are the rules, and they won't go outside them. And one of the things I love doing is taking someone who doesn't consider themselves a business person, who doesn't actually even know that they could have a business, but they've got some idea that there's something in it, and there's something they'd like to create in the world that they don't know how it could be as a business, but they'd like to actually create a difference in the world. And I love playing with those people and showing them how the business side can be easy and how they can actually create the difference that they want to create.
Yeah, awesome. And I love that too, because, I mean, there's so many things you brought up there, but I mean, I think a lot of the things are people think, well, they'd like to create, and they might, you know, there might be things that are easy and fun, but they think, oh, this is, you know, I couldn't really create a business from this. Like, what could I actually do? And so people do get stuck on, well, A, what do I create? And B, is this something that I could actually do in my life that would actually generate, you know, a living, or just be more than just a hobby, or could actually create like a really expansive and fun and joyful life?
Yeah.
Just
okay. So I gave one of my coaching clients some homework this afternoon, and I'm going to give it to all of the people who think this is what it is. And so when you go to that space of what could I create, so one thing I know from talking to a lot of people in the last few years about this is that if you're even asking that question, then there's something in the world where you can truly make a difference. There's something you know that you can bring to the world that maybe no one else can in the way that you can. So there's two places people get stuck here. One is they go to, oh, but everyone else is already doing that idea, what am I going to do? And for that sort of track or line of thought, the thing to look at is, well, you are different. You're different to all the other people that are doing it. You're going to express it in a different way. You're going to deliver it in a different way. You're going to connect with different people. Like, the people that I would connect with would be totally different to who one of my friends would connect with, even if we're talking about the same topic. And so you've got to be willing to actually be the difference that you are, because a lot of people want to create something, but then they want to be the same as everyone else, and they want to do it the same as everyone else, and they want it to be successful. And unfortunately, it doesn't tend to work like that. Usually you've got to actually be willing to be the difference that you are, and that is the thing that actually draws people to you, because they go, wow, you're different, I'd like some of what you've got. And then there's a door that opens and you can start to play. And then the other side of this is the people who get this idea and they've got, you know, some sense of what they'd like to create in the world, and then they go to the conclusion of, oh, but no one really wants to pay me for that. You know, no one would buy that. No one would pay for that. No one wants that. And all of those are conclusions. And the homework I gave my client today was to write down all of the reasons why no one would want that, all of the things they think would stop them from creating a successful business. And we're going to look at those things because, in a way, they're the objections that your potential clients might have, because not all of them will be true. And then we look at, well, if those clients have that point of view, who doesn't have that point of view? And there's a whole lot of things you can do with it after that. But if you start to actually be aware of the conclusions you come to, that's the first step in actually then creating around that and creating through that and past that and beyond that. Because everything is possible. That's one thing I know. And it sounds really weird. Like, people are going, no, it can't be. Everything can't be possible. But actually, if you're asking for it, it is in some way, shape, or form. It may not look like you think it's supposed to look. It could look totally different, actually. But if you've got an inkling or an awareness that there's something you would like to create, it can come into the world, and it's a matter of playing with it. And I literally mean playing with it rather than trying to work it out.
Yeah, awesome. And I can relate so much to all those things. It's like, you know, you get this idea and then the first thing you think is, oh, probably someone else has done it, or they're already better at it, and it's really just like a roadblock instead of just starting to create something, anything, play with, you know, play with. So we have a couple of questions that come in, and Adele,
one's just come in on the live feed, which is pretty cool. It's relating to that. It says, how can we create without worrying about how this will or won't affect our future?
Yeah, okay. Well, worry is a distraction, okay? Worry is a thing we put in place so that we won't create. And so I don't look at the worry so much, because what I really look at when people sort of get into this energy is, okay, so you need to be aware of what you're creating and how it can affect your future. But most people, when they go to the worry, they're looking at all the bad things that could happen. And it's actually not so common for people to look at all the amazing things that could happen. And so when I'm creating, like, I have a sense of the change I would like to create in the world that would, you know, I could die happy, basically, right? And that's not necessarily a defined, tangible thing. It's more an energy. It's more how I would like the world to be different in a really broad sense. And so one of the things I look at is, well, okay, so if I create this, whatever the project or the idea is that I've got, what's the world going to be like in 5 years? What's it going to be like in 50 years? What's it going to be like in 500 years? And once you start to look at the sense, and it really is a sense of what, you know, I mean, you can't define what the world's going to be like in 500 years, but you will know if the energy expands and gets lighter and more fun, or if it sort of gets contracted and heavy and you kind of go, ew, that's horrible, I don't think I'll create that one. And so you can also use this in your own life. So you're literally going, okay, so if I create this, what's it going to create? Is it going to create something greater, or is it going to create something less? And, you know, we actually always know, even though we can go, oh, I don't really know anything about energy, or, oh, you know, I can't predict that. And there's a lot of people who'll try and work it out by, you know, the pros and cons, the really logical, linear way of doing it. I don't work like that. I did for a long time. But I realized that it wasn't very accurate, basically. You could do all the pros and cons in the world, but the moment that any other person in the equation makes a different choice, all of that could be totally different. And so you've got to be willing to go with your own awareness. And this is where being creative comes into it, because you've got to also be willing to change your mind on a dime. You've got to be willing to go, okay, cool, I had this idea. It didn't quite work out how I thought. What else can I do with it? Is there something else that's required here? Can I add something to it? Do I need to dump it and start again? Like, always be in the question as to what's actually going on. Because when you do that, then you actually get to trust you, and that's when you stop worrying, is when you trust you. Because if you have this sort of awareness that you can always change something, basically, then you'll start to always be looking for the possibilities rather than the limitations in any choice that you make. And playing with those possibilities, one of the very fun things that we do at Creativity Lab, because most people haven't thought of 99.9% of the possibilities that actually could come out of their idea. They thought of maybe the 0.1%.
Mm. Well, it's so interesting with, you know, all those parts that you're talking about. It's like, oh, do I throw it out? Do I start again? Do I change it? And it's like, you have to, like, you know, in most businesses, people are trying to find like a perfect structure, and then they're very controlling in how things, you know, so it seems like you're very different in the way that you look at things. You're actually willing to throw things out that don't work, and there's a kind of, I get a real sense of like freedom in that, but at the same time it's like, you know, people get very attached to their ideas as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a good talk. You were talking about energy before, and can you touch on that a little bit more, like working with the energy rather than, you know, the pros and the cons and how people function that way?
Yeah, and I want to talk about just what Amanda said then about being willing to kill your darlings. There's I can't remember who the famous person is, but, you know, you've got to be willing to kill your darlings. And it sounds awful, but, you know, when I first left the corporate world, I had this idea for a business, and I was really excited about it, and I, you know, did all the things, got it all set up, started it, and then I'm there and I'm going, right, something's not working here quite how I thought it would. And I was really just asking a lot of questions about it and not knowing, like, thinking I had the answer, basically, okay? And so in that thinking I had the answer, I couldn't see any other possibility. And I talked to someone about it, and they said to me, well, actually, you know, there's a much bigger possibility here, but you'd have to actually kill this business, dump it, literally leave it on the side of the road if you want the bigger possibility to show up. So I went home and I cried for 3 days because I didn't want to give up that business. I loved that business. It was my baby. I was like, you know, so excited to have it. But when I looked at the energy of what was going to create the most, I knew this person was right. And it was really interesting because, you know, it was a hard thing to do. But in a way, I'm so grateful because that was like 6 years ago now. And I would never have Creativity Lab in the way it is if I had kept that business. And that I would have been so bored. Oh my God, I would have been so bored. And so this is the interesting thing, is that often when we get an idea and we get really attached to it, we actually limit what else is possible. We actually stop something greater from showing up. And so one of the things I've learned, and when I say learned over and over and over again, is that every time I get attached to something, that's the moment that the creative generative energy stops, and I actually stop all the possibilities that could be way more exciting and fun and joyful. So you do have to be willing to kill your darlings. It's not always easy, but once you begin to do it, it gets easier. And
even fun. Like, I get the energy of that. It's even fun. Being willing to change something that quickly and not be attached to it creates so much more ease.
Now, I'm literally like, I can have 100 ideas, choose 2, one will work, one won't. I'll go, oh, well, okay, fine, what's next? And that energy of what's next, because most people are like, oh, my God, I finally got an idea. Oh, I've got an idea. You know? And I used to be like that, so I totally understand. And in a way, this is why I wanted to talk about nurturing the muse tonight, because, you know, I worked in corporate for like 20 years, and I was always like, and even before I had my first job, I knew I would have my own business, but I was always like, yeah, I'm going to have my own business, but I don't know what it's going to be. Yeah, I'd like to have my own business, but I don't really have any ideas. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And it was always like what I didn't want to do. I had a long list of what I didn't want to do. And it was really funny because, and that was 20 years. And then I got burnt out so badly that I had to stop working. Like, it was like I couldn't sit up, I couldn't speak, which I know is hard to believe when you hear me now. And it was really interesting, though, because in having that space, because really the burnout gave me space. It gave me a year where physically my body was not really coping very well with anything. And so I had to actually have the space, and I never really allowed any space in my life before that. It was always busy, 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 go, 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 you know, type A, overachiever, you know. And it was really interesting to see when I had the space how much more aware I became of the things I truly enjoyed. And that was the beginning of the ideas. And in that first year, the ideas didn't come that easily, I have to say. I would walk around everywhere with a notebook going, is there an idea here? Like, where can I get some ideas? And I was always like looking for ideas in a really almost tangible, forceful way. Whereas now, the ideas show up way, like, 20 lifetimes and I still wouldn't be finished. And the difference is the thing of nurturing the muse. The thing of nurturing your ideas and playing with them and, literally in the beginning, like treating them like toys that you really love. Because in doing that, you actually give them an energy which allows the ideas to show you what they can be. And I've played a lot with this in the last 5 years because in the very beginning I tried to do it the logical, linear way that you learn through most of your life in corporate, at university, all those things. And it wasn't working for me anymore, and I knew it had to be different. And so this thing of like nurturing the ideas and really just allowing the ideas to flow, it comes originally from having space, from actually not working all the time, from not being busy all the time, from literally going out and just hanging out like at the beach or with some horses or in nature, just hanging out and just being present with yourself. Because we are innately creative beings. That's who we are. It's who we're born. We're born creative. And it's a really joyful thing to start to tap into that. I'll paint a picture. I'm not an artist, right? Let's just put it that way. But I'll paint a picture because it gives my brain space. And do I hang the pictures on the wall? No, not at all. But that's not the point. The point is to give my brain space so some people I know have been asking about, okay, I can't get into a creative space to write something I need to write or whatever it is. The best thing to do is to take your brain for a holiday, basically. And so one way to do that is literally to go outside in nature, do something creative. Like my last job in corporate, the one where I got the burnout, it was really intense. And I used to do walking meetings with people because I couldn't stand being in the office 10 hours a day and doing 10 or 12 meetings in a day. It was sending me insane. And so I literally would say to people, okay, well, you and I are having a walking meeting. And I would walk around the park that was just up the road. And it was great for all of us because you'd get better ideas and you would go back feeling refreshed. And part of that actually, in effect, is moving meditation. For a lot of people, meditation doesn't work because your brain's so damn busy. Like, for me, I did meditation for years and I honestly can't say it made much difference. And moving, like just walking, that makes a huge difference to me. And it's something about that rhythmic sort of thing. So you've got to find what works for you. And let's stop there for a minute.
That may have been the answer for the question that just popped up, actually. And it was the same, I think it's the same person on our Facebook page, but it was, what will it take for me to be creative at my workplace in my routine work? I seem to be uncreative at my work. My mind shuts off even while writing a simple email.
Yeah. Okay, so I've given a part of the answer. Let's see what else we can come up with here. So there's a really interesting thing about when you go to work, you're really aware of everyone else's thoughts, feelings, and emotions, right? Because there's all these people being busy, and a lot of stuff that happens in workplaces is about being busy. It's not actually about being creative. I have not seen very many genuinely creative workplaces. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people, yeah, we're innovative, we're creative, we're great. And truly, are they? No, not in the way I know it is possible. And so the first thing you need to do is actually, you can just ask to be, how much space can I be? And that's not like making yourself fat. That is literally like just asking your energy to expand out into the universe so that you're not tapped into the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of the people around you. Because all of us are a lot more psychic than we'd like to think. And I learned this the hard way because a lot of the stress and the burnout that I went through was actually just my awareness of other people's universes. So we're actually a lot more aware and a lot more psychic than we acknowledge. And how do you know this for you? Well, if you've ever walked into a room and known someone was angry before they said a word to you, then you're doing the same thing at work when you're not feeling creative. You're actually aware of all the people who are doing their busy work or doing what they have to. and not doing it from the choice and the joy of it. So the first thing is expand out your space and just keep asking, okay, so how much space can I be? And how much space do I need to be able to create this with ease? And I do this now. I don't work in a corporate job anymore, but I do this now for myself because I'm aware of people. You know, like I live in a holiday area. I'm aware of all the people on holidays. It would be so easy to never feel like working, you know? Yeah. And when I first moved here, it was really noticeable to me. I was like, oh, wow, I don't feel like working again. That's strange. And then I was like, oh, right, it's not mine. It's not mine. Yeah.
You want to explain why, you know, I used to work in a massive corporate office and I used to love coming in early or staying back late because I could sense the space and I'd get so much more done and it would be easy and relaxed. And then by the middle of the day, like between 10 and 2, I just wouldn't want to be in there at all. And you could literally feel the people filling up the space and everything getting like, So I wish I had that tool then.
Yeah, well, me too, don't you worry, because I didn't have that tool then either, and it would have made a huge difference. And so the other thing is that when that person was saying, okay, basically I'm uncreative at my work and my mind just shuts off, so you've got to be willing to have your space be more dominant than all the people around you. And you actually can ask, okay, so what do I need to write here? And look at whoever's going to receive your email or whatever it is you're writing. So what do these people need to hear from me? And, you know, that can be surprising. Like sometimes I go to write something. Like I'm usually writing my Love Note newsletters like every week. And I never know what I'm going to write from week to week. There's all these people that go, oh, you've got to plan it all out in advance. Like, you know, I'd love to be able to plan it all out in advance. That would be awesome. But the reality is it's so much easier for me to just tap into the energy of, okay, what's going on for people? What is it that they need to know? What's going to make the difference to them? And just by asking those questions, something will pop into my mind and then I'll be off on a track and I'll write about it and it'll create what, you know, people are looking for. And it's amazing how many times when I send that out, I get people going, oh my gosh, that was exactly the thing I needed to hear today. And so you've got to be willing to out-create everyone around you. And literally just by asking the question, okay, what's it going to take to out-create myself today, and what's it going to take to out-create everyone I know today? And that's not doing it from a space of competition, but it's doing it from a space of, I'm going to create something amazing, so what can it be, and what can it look like, and how different can it be than what I've ever created before? Because most people actually create from the past. And so often when you're writing an email, you're writing to an audience in the future. And so you need to actually go to the future and ask what they're actually needing to know, rather than go to the past of what's been said in the last 10 emails in the train of thought or whatever. And, you know, like we're so really interesting. So I was talking this afternoon with someone and they said to me, well, you know, someone told me that I shouldn't take advice from anyone who hasn't already been there and done it. And I said, well, that works really great if you want to create everything that you're creating based on what's occurred in the world in the past. But it's not a very creative path, and it actually doesn't create and generate new possibilities in the world. So it depends what your target is. If your target is to replicate what's already existed, by all means go and do that. If your target is to create something that's actually going to make a difference and, you know, be a totally different invitation to people, then you can't create or write from the past. You've actually got to go to the future and look at what you know that you've never even realized that you knew. And I know that might sound a little bit
people get told this. Yeah, but it's like you're saying, it's so different because we're always told, oh, look at a model or find the structure that works and replicate that. But what I love with what you're saying is it's really stepping into that energy of nurturing the muse, because you're stepping out of, you know, getting out of the past or everything that's been done and into that question of how can I out-create, and it's more about opening doors and finding answers. And I don't know if there's any, you know, there's probably a million places to go with this really, but just that energy of, okay, if you're willing to be really creative and really let go of the past, like not trying to model your ideas based on all of that, it's so freeing.
Yeah, look, it is, Amanda, and it's a thing that we play with a lot at Creativity Lab Live, like the 3-day events, because most people come and they've got an idea and they're going, I've got this idea and I'm stuck. I can't take it forward any further. And probably the most common reason that they can't take it forward any further is not because they're no good at it, not because they don't have the skills that are needed, not because they're not willing to do what it takes. The most common thing is that they're trying to copy what's been done before, and it's not working for them because their idea is new. The energy they're doing it with is new. They're different. And it's really amazing for me to watch people go through the processes that we do, and it's different every time. So I never quite know what process I'm going to give them. Like every time I give someone some home play, or I, give them something to go and play with, it's addressing the energy that's up in the moment. It's not from, oh, I've got these 50 exercises and I'll see which one will be the closest fit. It's literally like, okay, so what's going to move this person past this stuck place where they know something else is possible and they can't find the way through? Because if you look at all change in the world, like, look at the last 2,000 years of how the world has changed. It hasn't changed because we've totally referenced the past and just kept doing what we've always done. It's changed because people were like, no, that's not enough for me, that doesn't work for me, what a stupid idea, I hate doing it that way, how else can I do it? It's the people who've asked questions and who've been willing to actually go, okay, there's got to be a better way, I'm going to find it. They're the people that, when they come to Creativity Lab and we ask a few questions and we play with their ideas and we expand them and, turn them inside out and backwards, all of a sudden something totally new and different can show up. And it's a very fun thing to play with. And this is where, for me, business is really fun. Like when at the beginning you were saying most people don't think business is fun, this is why business is fun for me. Because literally I don't want to go to the space of it has to be a certain way. I'm like, what do you like doing? What don't you like doing? Okay, let's see what we can do with that. And it's a really different space to create from.
It is. It's kind of really being willing to go, okay, I've got to give up my need for that perfect recipe to find the answer, or the, all that sort of stuff, and just go beyond. And as you were talking about that, it's almost like I could get a sense of people thinking, oh, well, that's a great idea, but how do you actually really do that? Like, this is it's so different. Yeah. How do you navigate to actually get beyond, okay, now I know this is possible, so what happens next? Like, could you give us maybe a bit of an example of something that's happened at your workshops or at an event?
Sure. Yeah, let me think about that for a sec. But I'll talk about the how first of all, because for me personally, when I'm talking to a person about their idea, it's like there's 1,000 little party poppers going off all over the place, right? And that's all the different possibilities of how we could go past the thing where they're stuck. And usually what I will do if I'm working with them in a group or one-on-one is ask them some questions about what is working for them, what's not working for them, how they would really like it to work, even if they thought that was impossible. Because most people actually know the answer to what they're trying to create, but they've come to the idea that it's impossible. And so they won't go past, oh, but it's impossible. Like I was talking to someone today, and we came to we had a lot of the pieces of what her business model could be, but we didn't have kind of the big idea that sort of brought it all together and made it actually make sense to people. And in talking today, we came up with that. And I said, oh, so all of these things actually feed this one thing in different ways. And because she was going, I'm just doing all these things that don't even seem connected. And this happens a lot. People come with a lot of ideas that it's like, I'd like to do all these things, but they don't even make sense to me, let alone anyone else. And so what we did was we got the big idea that brought them all together and connected them all. And then she said, but no one will pay me for that. And I'm like, do you want to bet? And like I was talking to her about the market that actually would pay for this. And I was literally like, do you know how many thousands of those people are out there twiddling their thumbs waiting for someone like you to show them the path? And it was really interesting because she's like still going, are you sure? I'm like, yeah. And so this is the thing where sometimes you need someone outside of yourself to actually take you a few steps along the path so that you can actually see what truly is possible. Because it's really easy to get caught up in why something won't work. And, the biggest reason that someone has an idea and then don't move forward with it is because they get caught up in what won't work and all the limitations of it. And so I I don't really believe that there's any limitations. It's like, okay, let's just find our way through them, past them, above them, below them, beyond them. And I've got no point of view about which one of those it is. And the difference is when it's not your idea, you will look at all possibilities. Whereas when it's your idea, you only want to look at the possibilities that match what you've already decided the idea should look like. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the little traps. And that's one of the reasons I run Creativity Labs, so that people can actually talk to other people about their idea and, you know, receive contribution from other people about what could be possible that they haven't imagined yet.
Yeah, and it's so exciting you're saying, you know, you can see like all these possibilities, like all these different ways you could, you know, create with it or go with it. And I'm like, what? You mean there's more than one? Like there's...
Yeah, there is.
Space to play with that is like... Wow, it's like suddenly it's, you know, this whole new world opens up. So really exciting. Yeah, so I mean, I guess I'd really like to have, I mean, that really starts to give me more of a sense, I guess, about, you know, what happens in a creativity lab. But I sort of just wondered, what sort of people, I mean, if you think maybe you're not businessy or, you know, you just maybe want to get a sense of more of what you could create in different ways. I mean, you know, what sort of things happen, what sort of people come?
Yeah, okay. So let me give you a few examples of things people have worked on and the types of people that have come. So sometimes people who have still got a corporate job come because they're like, okay, so this is my job for now, but in 3 years from now, I'd like to be doing something else. And so they bring their sort of half-formed ideas, their half-written novel, their whatever it is, the half-done thing that is sitting there, and they know that it can go somewhere, but they're not sure what to do with it. And sometimes, you know, with people like that, it's a matter of let's actually create this into an idea that can actually make you money, that can become a business. Sometimes it's, okay, so let's get you unblocked. Because, you know, and I know this was true for me when I worked in corporate, I did not have much energy for being creative or creating. It was quite all-encompassing, you know, the job sort of took a lot of energy, and a lot of that, of course, was being aware of everyone else's stuff. And so one of the things is when you come for those 3 days, it's actually space to then be able to be outside of your normal environment. And so you get to see, okay, so I've got this thing, and it might, you know, I've had people come with writer's block. I did a uni course, and I wrote the first chapter, and it's really great, and I've been stuck since then for 2 years. And it's like, oh, block your writer's block. You know, so sometimes it's things like that. Then there's people who are like, I've got this really cool idea and I'm going to build a prototype. And so I've actually had people like literally bring their power tools and build a prototype of their idea, right? You know, and that's really cool and fun as well. This is the great thing. There are no rules at Creativity Lab. It's literally just like, what would you like to do? What would you like to create? And so sometimes people will do that. And then you have people like, you know, one of my favorites ever was an architect, and she's a really amazing, brilliant person. And she wanted to explore the connection between sound and space and how you would encompass that within architectural projects. And so people bring sometimes very intangible things, and sometimes it's literally like, okay, I've got this idea, how do I make money from it? Or I've got this idea, where's my audience? How do I get it out in the world? And one of the things I've noticed a lot is that most creative people don't consider that they are business people. And my target with this is to actually make the business side of it so easy that it's almost like you don't notice you've got a business. You know, that's the fun bit, right? Because most people are like, business, I'd rather slip my wrists. And it's like, well, no, what if actually it could be really fun for you? And so people bring their projects, and sometimes it's like, you know, a business that's maybe been going for a couple of years, and they're looking for a different way of being with their clients. They're looking, like a lot of coaches and consultants will come because they're like, okay, I know there's something else. What is it? And so they'll come to see not only what they can create, but also how I facilitate, because I do facilitate in quite a different way probably to the majority of people out there. And so some people actually come to really look at how I do that, which is, you know, for me, I don't mind. It's all fun. You know, they ask interesting questions. I get more cognitive awareness of how I do it. So, yeah, and what else?
Just another question if you want to
yeah, sure.
It was actually the same person from our last question, and she said, what does contribution actually mean here? So I don't know if you need her to expand on that for us, or...
Yeah, well, let's talk about this. Okay, so contribution is an energy that most people don't know what it is because it doesn't exist very much in the world at the moment. Most people live in a really give and take universe where if I give you this, you'll give me that, or you have to give me this. You know, there's always a sort of energy in it, and you all know what I'm talking about. You know, oh gosh, I've got to go to work so I can get paid. Perfect example of a give and take universe. Okay,
transaction, like always has to be something. For whatever you get, you have to do something. You have to balance.
Yeah. It's always like, what are you going to give me for what I'm doing for you? That's the general sort of undertone of it. And contribution is a really different energy because contribution is about, well, what can I contribute to you that would make your life easier? What can I gift to you that would actually be fun for both of us? And I'll give you a more tangible example. So a couple of weeks ago, I was going to this expo, and I didn't know why I was going. Like, my mum was going, and I was like, yeah, I'll come. And like to have a stall, to actually talk to people and, you know, promote what I'm doing. But I was a bit like, it's a bit strange. It didn't feel like it was really for me, but it felt like I should go. And this is the thing of following the energy, is that often I will do things that on the surface make no logical sense. That particular expo, I knew that technically speaking, it probably didn't have my target audience there. But it was a really light energy to go. So I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to show up and see what happens. So I went. And within the first, I'd say, 10 minutes of us being set up, I realised why I was there. And part of that was contribution to my mum, because she does readings, and it was literally like she didn't want to do the readings. She was just pretending she was going to be there for a bit. And so my contribution actually got her doing readings all day. So cool, that was part one. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll just look after the stall, it's all good, you know. I was just having a good time chatting to whoever came along. And then I was talking to someone else that I knew there, and they were running a class, and it's a class that I can run, but at that time I was like, look, you know, in the next 6 months I'm not going to be running any of those classes because I'm just busy, and I'll be overseas for most of it. And so quite a few people who came to my stand were interested in this class, and I said, oh, you need to go and see this person. They're going to run a class soon. I'm not running one anytime soon, because I had the flyers, but I wasn't, you know. And people would say that that's crazy, that I would send business to someone else, but that actually is the energy of contribution, because I knew that it would expand my universe and it would expand her universe if I did that. And it was really fun because she was so grateful, like so grateful, you know, for the people that I sent her. And for me, it was not the hugest priority to run one of those classes. I'm doing so much other stuff. Whereas for her, it was a big thing. And so this is the energy of contribution. It's like where you're just going to give to people whatever they require without an expectation they will do anything for you. Mm-hmm. And it's not a common energy in this world at the moment. And what would it take for it to be how we actually all operate? And it's one of the fun things I play with at Creativity Lab, because inevitably everyone ends up talking to each other, having fun, checking out their projects, all that sort of stuff. And it's really amazing to watch the contributions that people can be. Like, I've seen whole groups literally be co-creating and collaborating by the end of it in the most surprising ways. And they didn't know they would do that when they first came. But, you know, it was just, there was natural connections there. So that energy of contribution, and, you know, if you're in a corporate environment, if you ever want to make people nervous, just start contributing to them. And it's funny because, like, most people are like, oh, what do you want? They're literally like, what's going on in their head? The moment you contribute to someone without expecting anything in return, the first thing they go to is, well, what do you want? And what if you don't want anything? What if you actually just want to turn their world inside up and backwards and down, you know, so that they can actually have a different possibility?
That's different.
Yeah. And actually, it's really brilliant energy. If you look at, you know, you're coming to, you know, creative workshop and you want to get your ideas out in the world, you want to make this a successful business, actually looking at that energy of contribution is something that really would make people stop and look at you and see what, like, you know, what you're creating and how different you are, is actually an energy that would really, you know, kind of make you stand out amongst the crowd. If you're worried that you don't have something unique, well, I mean, adding that in itself is hugely different.
Well, it is, and not only that, like, I mean, contribution is one of the energies that totally underpins my entire business. And it's really fascinating to me that the more I've been willing to let go of control and actually allow people to contribute to me, because I was always Miss Independent, very like, no, I don't need any help, no, I'll do it all myself, thank you very much, I can do it better than you. And
control freaks can relate.
Control freaks can make it.
It's fairly common in corporate world, right? And it's really interesting for me because it took me a long time to get out of that, and I'm still learning. And what I've seen is that the more willing I am to receive the contribution, because, you know, a lot of us are willing to give but not to receive as well. That's the other side of it. And the more willing I've been to receive the contribution, the more amazing things just keep showing up and keep showing up and keep showing up. Like, you know, my European coordinator, she's been in a few different places lately, and she every day she Skypes me and goes, oh, I've talked to this person and they would love to do this with us, and like she's just creating and creating and creating. And I'm so grateful for that contribution because, like, she's not my staff. I don't employ her in a job, but we have an agreement. And this is a different way of doing business as well, is that you don't actually have to have everyone as staff, because a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to have staff. I can't have a business. I don't want to have staff. I don't have any staff. I have a lot of people who contribute in different ways, and we have a different arrangement depending on what it is they're doing. And so this is the thing of being willing to allow the business to contribute to you as well, or your creative idea, because not everyone who comes to Creativity Lab has a business idea. I've had people come because their relationships weren't working. I've had people come because they wanted to get out of their business, you know, like all sorts of different things. And what happens in that energy of the contribution and the collaboration is that you get a lot of different perspectives, and that then allows you to get and have and receive different possibilities, which actually gives you different choices. And one of the things is in creating is, what are you willing to choose? Because so many people are willing to have the idea but not to choose to take it to the next step, not to take the action.
Cool. So I guess talking a little bit more about Creativity Lab and the projects that people are creating.
Yeah. Oh, I had a question.
Yeah, go for it.
What if you'd really love to be creative, and we sort of touched on this earlier, but you're sort of like, okay, I'd love to come to this Creativity Lab. Sounds awesome. I have no ideas.
Yeah.
I have like nothing. I have no idea what I want to create. What could I, what would I get out of coming to this lab? If I'm bringing sort of nothing to the table, so to speak.
Have people come in that situation. And what is really, and I actually love it when people come when they're in that situation, because there's this magic that shows up. So usually what happens with those people is that as we have the first discussion on the first day, in hearing all of the things and the conversations with the other people, there's some stuff that pops up in their universe about what they're interested in or what they've got a question about. And then I will usually send them away to play with a few different questions. And those questions are different for every person. It's not a one-size-fits-all at all. And so usually I give them questions that are going to allow them to see their life, their work, whatever it might be that they'd like to change. Because usually someone might come with no ideas, but they've got an idea that there's something they would like to change. And usually what I'm then doing is playing with them in the sense of, okay, so how would this be different? What could you do with this that you've never thought of before? And there's a whole lot more stuff that I've got that I play with this. And in actually taking the space out for themselves, because how many people actually, oh sorry, I'm jiggling the table, how many people ever actually give themselves 3 days just to look at what they'd like their life to be or what they'd like their relationship to be? Not many. And when you do that,
without getting distracted, I have to say that, especially without getting distracted, because I'll sit and go, right, I'm going to look at this, and then 3 seconds later, whoop, whoop, whoop. So 3 days of actually going, okay, we're here, let's deal with this, is to me is like, oh my goodness. Where do you get that?
It's very interesting because it can be quite amazing to be very, very present with your own life. And I actually had a lady in one event, literally every time she asked me for something to do, I would look at the energy, I'd go, okay, you just need to go and be. So she spent 2 days out of the 3 days just being. And I don't know that anyone has ever hated me more in the moment ever in one of these classes. And it was interesting, though, because I was always in the question of, is this the thing for her right now? Yes, it is. And I just was following the energy. And towards the end of the second day, it changed dynamically for her. And I was there and I was like, wow, okay, it's changing. Yay, it's changing. And then she asked me again, okay, can I do anything else yet? And I'm like, yeah, actually you can. Go and play with these questions. And so she did that. And, you know, she got some more awareness and all those sorts of things. And she started to look at some different things. Anyway, I did a private session with her 2 days after the event. And she came in and she was so grateful. And she had gone from like pretty much hating me to being so grateful. She said that when she went home after that 3 days, everything in her life had changed. Her relationship with her husband, her relationship with her kids, her relationship with her parents, her relationship with the businesses that she was working in. Everything was different. And when I say different, not in a falling apart, making a mess way, in a way of she perceived it so differently because she had changed. She'd actually given herself time to go, what would I like here? And that allowed her then to make some different choices. And, you know, a lot of people go, oh, I can't because. And the because is because my husband this, my father this, my kid this, whatever. You know, there's always a because. And when you put yourself in that space of 3 days of no becauses, just what would I like to choose, it's a really different thing. And would I say it's not always comfortable, but I tell you what, you come out of it going, wow, I'm having a different life. And that's probably for me the joy of running Creativity Lab is actually the people with the no ideas, because it's amazing what can come out of that.
And it's really interesting how you're saying, you know, when talking to this lady and giving and saying, you know what, just be, and asking her to be present with whatever. And it wasn't about telling her to go away and think about things. It's actually getting out of that, okay, not being cognitive anymore and actually having, it's not about doing, it's not about thinking, it's actually this stepping into this whole other space and to actually have, you know, a place, a space and facilitation to actually sort of guide you when it's, you know, a completely new way of sort of functioning. It's really amazing to hear that story because it can be really confronting, and then but if you're willing to persist with it, how things can really change. So that's just so exciting. I'm excited. So yeah.
So you're.
So did you have a question, Adele?
I was going to say, you're coming to Melbourne very soon.
Oh yeah,
Creativity Lab all over the world. You've got like a big tour coming up.
Yeah,
going on
this year actually. So we're starting on the Sunshine Coast the weekend after this, so on the 4th to the 6th of April. Then we're going to Melbourne in the beginning of May, 9th to the 11th, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Anyway, what I will say, and then I'm going to Europe. And so what I will say is that if you'd like to know more, go to www.creativitylab.biz.com. No. Oh, no, that's so wrong. See? I'm just like, what is it? No, creativitylab.biz/live, L-I-V-E. And that will give you, like, all of the upcoming dates and, and also more of a sense of what actually we do. And, you know, it's not a tangible process. It's not a one-size-fits-all process. It's very much playing with all the different possibilities that people bring and playing with the particular group that's there, because every group comes together in a really different way. And like I've run probably 10 or 12 of these now, and every event has been so different. There's no cookie cutter, there's no this is what to expect, because it really is created from what you're asking for. So whatever change you're asking for, whatever you're asking to create, that's what it's a creative process, you know? It's not a step-by-step, and I will give you step-by-step things to do at certain points, because we've got to a place where, oh yes, you need some step-by-steps. But if you think that everything is going to be a step-by-step and I'm going to run the same thing in 3 months in, you know, Calcutta, probably not. It's very much being present. And, you know, this thing of being present, that's actually the creative energy. That's the thing that allows you to create your life and have it be what you would like it to be.
Very cool.
Wow, I'm so excited. And just exploring that, it's so different. Like, you know, like I said right at the beginning, you know, when I met you, I knew that you was like had such a different point of view about business, such a different point of view about creating. And you know, when you started doing these labs, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like a potency, you know, potency pot. Like, what can we create here? So thank you so much for coming on and having a Google Hangout and chatting with us, and for all the people who have come along. There will be if you have registered, there will be a replay sent out to you so you can watch this again. What else? Is there anything else I'm forgetting?
I'm not sure. Maybe we can ask Lisa if there's anything else you'd like to
finish up. Thank you so much for like coming and asking me questions and playing with me. And we will send out an email with the details and with the replays so that you can find out a bit more about it. And thank you to all the people who came on the live stream and asked questions. I'm really grateful because it's always cool to have real questions and see what juicy bits of info we can pull out.
And if you've got any more questions, send them in because we'll keep answering them. So
yeah. Join us. And you have a Facebook page, don't you, for Creativity Lab?
If you actually just go like facebook.com/Creativity Lab Live, you'll find the Facebook page. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's always got, I love you've always got different quotes and brilliant ideas and different tidbits of things. So that really
very inspiring.
Yeah,
got to have
so
that.
Come play on that would be awesome. All right, so I think we've pretty much hit almost the top of the hour too. So thank you so much, Lisa. We love you, and we're excited to all our future playmates to come play with us at these creativity labs with you all over the world.
Yes.
How does it get any better?
Exactly. How does it?
Thank you, and thank you for playing with me tonight. It's been great. Okay, bye.
Thanks, Lisa.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.